Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Today we are going to study about basic concepts of nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, which is also named as NMR. It is one of the most important technique for structural elucidation of organic molecules. What topics we will cover in this presentation? We will discuss about history of NMR and recall electromagnetic radiation spectrum. Then we will study about NMR active nuclei, and then we will learn how to calculate spin states of nuclei, and then we will start with basic principles of NMR. What are basic principles of NMR on which NMR spectroscopy rely? Then we will study the types of NMR, including continuous wave NMR as well as Fourier transform NMR, and we will discuss the advantages of Fourier transform NMR over continuous wave NMR. Then we will learn about chemical shift and two different scales, one is tau, other is delta scale. We will also study calculation of chemical shifts and NMR frequencies. Then a simplified correlation chart of chemical shift will be studied, and we will also learn about the basic internal standard that is known as TMS. We will also study about some other references which are used for some other type of nuclei other than proton or carbon-13. Okay class, the topics which we will cover in coming class will be proton NMR spectroscopy, chemical equivalent protons and their environments, multiplicity of proton NMR, splitting pattern, Pascal triangle, and what are the factors which are affecting on chemical shift, and some examples of proton NMR spectra. Then we will also learn about magnetic anisotropy, which is a very important topic, chemical shift, shielding and de-shielding, we will recall it. Then signals of solvents, we will study about it. Deuterium exchange experiment will be studied. Carbon-13 NMR and its chemical shift scale will be seen and studied. Proton coupled and proton decoupled carbon-13 NMR will also be studied in next class. And calculation of splitting of carbon and deuterium, we will see this. Then we will also learn applications of NMR and 2D NMR techniques. Then we will also study the structural elucidation through mass fragmentation, IR spectroscopy, proton NMR and carbon-13 NMR in the form of their combined problem, and we will end up this presentation with conclusion. Okay class, so we are moving towards our topic, that is the nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, its history. Actually in 1946 two groups of physics discovered the phenomena of nuclear magnetic resonance. Bloch and co-worker from Stanford University detected a signal from proton of water, and Purcell and co-worker from Harvard University also observed a signal from protons in paraffin wax, and they were awarded Nobel Prize on this contribution. Class, if we recall the electromagnetic radiation spectrum, then in today's we are going to study about radio frequency region. Radio frequency region is actually the region where people study about nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy. Before this we have studied UV spectroscopy, UV visible spectroscopy and IR spectroscopy. Okay class, now we are moving towards NMR active nuclei. The question comes, which nuclei are more active, or which nuclei are considered as NMR active nuclei? Actually those nuclei which have odd number of protons or odd number of neutrons, or both odd number of proton and odd number of neutrons, they are considered as NMR active nuclei. On the other hand, one can say nuclei with odd atomic number or odd mass number, or both odd atomic and odd mass number, they are NMR active nuclei. And NMR active nuclei, they have nuclear magnetic spin quantum numbers which is greater than 0, and these nuclei have quantized angular momentum and a magnetic moment, and their ratio, their ratio is known as gyromagnetic ratio. This is just for your knowledge. Nuclei with even atomic number and even mass number are considered as NMR inactive nuclei. Now one should remember that nuclei consist of two important types of charged particles. One is two types of particle, one is proton, other is neutron. Besides this, there are numerous particles are present which are named as quark. We are not talking about these subatomic particles which are present in the nucleus. And we should know that all nuclei which have charge, they have their own magnetic field. They behave like a small tiny magnet. Any spinning positive charge generates a magnetic field of its own and behave like a small tiny magnets. And magnets, if you remember, there are two poles of magnet. One is north pole, other is south pole. When we want to combine two magnets together, then north pole will attract towards south pole and south pole will be attracted towards north pole. So this is the concept which is going to be applied in applied magnetic field. Okay, nuclear spin is actually the property of certain isotopes rather than certain elements. So certain elements are NMR active, certain elements are not NMR active. And in NMR spectroscopy, usually the absorption of radio frequency by atomic nuclei in an applied magnetic field is considered. NMR, as the name indicates, nuclear magnetic resonance. That means in this study the phenomena of resonance is going to study under magnetic field of nuclei, nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy. Okay class, nuclei can be classified on the basis of their nuclear magnetic spin quantum number. Similarly, as you know, there are spin quantum numbers of electrons. Similarly, spin quantum number of protons are there. Those type of nuclei which have spin quantum number 0, they are considered as NMR inactive nuclei, and they have even number of protons, even number of neutrons. They don't have net spin, and they don't have NMR chromophore. They don't interact with applied magnetic field properly. And their examples are carbon 12, oxygen 18, sulfur 32. The other type of nuclei which are NMR active, there are two different classes: nuclei with spin quantum number half or nuclei with spin quantum number greater than half. The nuclei which have spin quantum number half, their examples are proton, carbon 13, fluorine 19, phosphorus 31. These nuclei have a non-zero magnetic movement. On the other hand, those nuclei which have spin quantum number greater than half, their examples are deuterium, oxygen 17, nitrogen 14, chlorine 35. These nuclei have both magnetic movement and electric quadrupole. Okay class, the question comes, how one can calculate the allowed spin states, possible orientation of nuclei. There is a formula 2I plus 1. I indicates nuclear magnetic spin quantum number. If someone is familiar about nuclear magnetic spin quantum number, then one can calculate the possible orientation of a nuclei. And nuclear magnetic spin quantum number values are constant. You can find these values for different elements from the literature. For example, here one question regarding proton. We know the nuclear spin quantum number proton is half, and the formula is 2I plus 1. When someone is going to place the value of I here, then the answer will be 2. That means proton will have two possible orientations, minus half or plus half. Similarly, for deuterium, spin quantum number is 1. When someone is going to place the value 1, the answer will be 3. So it will have three different possible orientations. If we talk about chlorine, spin quantum number of chlorine is 3 by 2. The formula is 2I plus 1. Placing the value in the formula, one gets the answer 4. That means 4 different possible orientations. Similarly, for oxygen 17, the answer is coming 6. So 6 different possible orientations. One can see here, these are the spin states of proton, 2 different spin states as we have studied in previous slide. And here the spin states of chlorine, 4 different spin states of chlorine are here. One should know that different nuclei have different resonance frequencies, therefore their energies and value of signal will be different. The resonance energy of hydrogen will be different as compared with chlorine. We are talking about NMR active nuclei. All different NMR active nuclei have different resonance frequencies. So one should note it. Okay class, now we are discussing the basic principle of NMR spectroscopy. One should know, or one should remember that nuclei in the absence of applied magnetic field arranged randomly, they have equal energy. They are considered as degenerated nuclei. You can see here This is one of the diagram of 5 different nuclei. Here you can see another diagram of nuclei. In the absence of applied magnetic field, nuclei have arranged themselves by their own way. When an applied magnetic field is there, then in the presence of applied magnetic field, nuclei orient themselves. Majority of nuclei try to arrange themselves align with the field in such a way that their north pole will attract towards south pole of applied magnetic field, or their south pole attract towards north pole of their applied magnetic field. This is a way. This way, one nuclei can reduce their energy, and nuclei they align the field with low energy. You can see in this graph, in this diagram, this is the energy of nuclei. I'm sorry. Yes, here. Energy of nuclei with no applied magnetic field, all spin states are degenerated. They have same energy. When the applied field is there is a change in energy. The majority of nuclei become aligned with the field, low energy states. Low energy spin state or aligned with the field state is known as alpha energy state, and the energy state which is of high energy, it is called as against the field or oppose the field. You can see these arrows are moving towards upside. So nuclei arrange themselves in such a way that their magnetic spin is also aligned with the field. Majority of nuclei will do this. Okay class, here are some basic points which we have learned so far. First of all, when atomic nucleus with non-zero spin or NMR active nuclei is placed in the magnetic field, the nuclear spin can align itself either in the same direction as the field or opposite direction of the magnetic field. And we should know that the two different spin alignments have different energies. Atomic nucleus of which the spin is aligned with the field will have low energy. It is known as alpha. On the other hand, atomic nucleus in which the spin is opposite, in which spin is in opposite direction or spin is against the field, it is of high energy and known as beta. By means of absorption of radio frequency, nuclei flip to higher energy state, and then nuclei is said to be in resonance with applied magnetic field. Resonance means matching, peak matching. When nuclei falls back from beta spin states to alpha spin states, when nuclei falls back from beta spin state to alpha spin state, detector of NMR spectrometer detects the energy in the form of relaxation, or we record or we observe a signal on NMR spectrum. Here are some points of understanding. One should remember that nuclei is a charged particle. In the center there is a positive charge because of presence of protons, and we know that any charged particle will behave like a tiny magnet, and it presses upon its own axis. Precession of nuclei under the applied magnetic field is similar to that of spinning top. If someone remember how a top moves, then the precision of nuclei is like spinning top. Similarly, when magnetic field is applied, the nuclei begins to precess about its own axis. Precess means moving on their own axis, about its own axis of a spin with angular frequency, which is sometimes called Larmor frequency. In IR spectroscopy, we have studied about vibrational changes, and by these vibrational changes we are familiar about functional group. But in nuclear magnetic spectroscopy, someone is going to study the changes in nuclei spin, and this nuclei spin change actually tells the environment of neighboring nuclei. Okay class, when the energy required for transition can be supplied by electromagnetic field in the radio frequency range, the stronger the applied magnetic field, the higher the rate of precision. The higher will be the applied magnetic field, the higher will be the rate of precision. If the frequency of radiation is same as Larmor frequency, or when both the frequency matches, supplied energy radio frequency is matching with the frequency of precision of nuclei, then the phenomena of resonance occur, and recording of this phenomena in the form of NMR signal is actually known as NMR. You can see here in this diagram, this is the h nu, the energy or radio frequency which is coming from the radio frequency generator. The frequency value is 60 megahertz, and let's suppose the frequency of precision of nuclei is 60 megahertz. When both of these two values become equal, then phenomena of absorption occur. And how someone is going to record this absorption? That means someone is going to study the nuclear spin changes. The important point for this absorption is peak matching of the frequencies, Larmor frequency and provided frequency. So for the sake of convenience, someone can say that actually study of nuclear spin under the influence of applied magnetic field, and to record the resulting resonance in the nuclear spin through the absorption of radio frequency is called nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, that is NMR. Again, similar type of picture here. In the absence of applied magnetic field, nuclei are moving by their own, but when the applied field is there, external magnetic field is there, nuclei will orient themselves. Majority of nuclei will become aligned with the field, and some very few nuclei will behave like oppose the field. When the energy of these nuclei is equal to the energy provided by radio frequency generator, then the phenomena of resonance occur, and to record this phenomena is actually NMR. NMR spectrum is a plot of radio frequency applied against absorption. Okay class, here one of the important point, the relation between the applied magnetic field and rate of precision. Here you can see the values of two different nuclei, proton and carbon-13. If the applied magnetic field is 1.41 Tesla, then frequency of precision of hydrogen will be 60 megahertz. Similarly, the frequency of carbon-13 will be 15 megahertz. But when this applied field is increased, for instance 11.744, the frequency of precision will be 500 megahertz, and similarly the frequency of precision of carbon-13 will be 125.72 megahertz. So what we conclude from these values, actually there will be no change in the chemical shift. What is chemical shift? We are going to study in coming slide. There will be no change in the chemical shift of an NMR active nuclei. For example, proton, if the spectrum will be run with 60 megahertz or 300 megahertz or with 500 megahertz spectrometer, but definitely a better resolution of spectra would be seen at high megahertz. Okay class, so far we have studied the basic principle of NMR, how NMR works. So if someone is going to discuss the operation of NMR, then there are two different type of operations of NMR. Whether one can keep the magnetic field constant and provide the electromagnetic frequency variably, or frequency electromagnetic radiation will be constant and magnetic field will be increased gradually. On the basis of this, there are two types of NMR spectrometer. One is known as continuous wave NMR and the other is known as pulse or Fourier transform NMR, FT-NMR. What is continuous wave NMR or CW-NMR? Actually, in continuous wave NMR, it uses a fixed magnetic field and sweeping of frequencies by varying the current in frequency coil to achieve resonance absorption signals. Here is a diagram. This is the radio frequency oscillator. This is the rays coming from the generator of radio frequency. Here the NMR probe where sample is present. When the frequency of precision of these nuclei matches with the provided frequency, then a phenomenon of absorption occurs. This absorption is recorded from RF detector and then recorded in the form of NMR spectrum. If we talk about the Fourier transform NMR, this is the most latest type of NMR which is being used so much. In this method, or in this method, it is a method in which NMR spectrum is collected by providing a pulse of radio frequency energy to excite all nuclei of a particular isotope like proton, carbon-13 and so on, NMR active nuclei, in a molecule simultaneously. As the excited nuclei relax, they emit radio waves, photons, which produce an interference pattern called free induction decay or FID. Through a mathematical process, this FID is converted into the frequency. This time domain is actually converted into the frequency domain in the form of NMR spectrum. And in this way, one can see the spectrum. Here one important point which is important to discuss regarding 1D NMR. If someone is going to study proton NMR, carbon-13 NMR or fluorine NMR, these NMRs are actually 1D NMR. These are not 2D NMR. Why they are called 1D NMR? Because in these NMR, the time domain is converted into frequency domain. The spectrum is actually two-dimensional. This is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. The name 1D is arising from this time domain conversion into frequency domain. Okay class. Here a comparison between continuous wave NMR and pulse Fourier transform NMR. I think continuous wave NMR we have studied the basic concepts. In pulsed or Fourier transform NMR, usually the nuclei in a magnetic field are exposed to short duration pulses of radio frequency radiation, and this duration lies 1 to 10 microsecond. The pulse duration is sufficient to excite all the NMR active nuclei simultaneously. The delay between successive pulses permits all excited nuclei to relax back to their ground state. The relaxation is referred as free induction decay, as we have studied. Conversion of this free induction decay into another by mathematical calculation in the form of frequency domain is actually, one can see a plot of NMR this way. In fact, Fourier transform NMR is more advantageous than continuous wave NMR because Fourier transform NMR is much sensitive and it measures weaker signals as compared with continuous wave NMR. Fourier transform NMR is much faster in working compared with continuous wave NMR. A sample with lesser quantity will easily be entertained by FT-NMR and one can obtain a good quality spectra by FT-NMR, which is not easy from continuous wave NMR. So continuous wave NMR have largely been replaced with Fourier transform instruments. Class, the most important topic is coming here about chemical shift. The word chemical shift is very important in NMR spectroscopy. If you see this scale, in this scale there are different values. This is the value of 0, which is for TMS, tetramethylsilane, and 0 to the scale is coming towards 11, but this scale can be extended towards 16 or 18 of ppm. The values which lies in low ranges, these are because of protons which have shielded protons, and these protons are called upfield protons. They are protons with high density, high electron density, lower chemical shift. Lower value means lower chemical shifts, and they absorb at low frequency, but they experience high magnetic field or applied magnetic field. They are talking about applied magnetic field. This is the relationship which we will study in coming slides, inshallah. Here the signal at 7.22 CdCl3, the proton which is present in deuterated form, the signal is hydrogen. We will study this. This is just understanding. Actually, what is chemical shift? NMR spectra is displayed as a plot of applied radio frequency versus the absorption. We have seen this. The applied frequency increases from left to right. This is the left and this is the right. The applied frequency increases from left to right. Thus, the left side of the plot is the low field, downfield or de-shielded side, and the right side, this is the right side. You can see this is the right side of the plot, which is high field or up field or de-shielded. High field in a sense of experiencing high magnetic field. So the position of signal from the position of a signal from this reference TMS, how far the signal is from this TMS, is known as chemical shift. Or the position on a plot, the position of a signal on a plot at which the nuclei absorb is called chemical shift. There are two different scales of chemical shift. One is the tau scale, which was proposed in 1958 earlier. This scale is not used nowadays. Tau is equal to 10 minus delta. The other scale is delta scale. This scale is mainly used nowadays. The scale is commonly expressed as parts per million, which is independent of spectrometer frequency. The formula is here: frequency of signal minus frequency of standard, that is TMS, and spectrometer frequency in megahertz, and divided by 10⁻⁶. The answer will come in ppm. The unit of this scale will be ppm in this way. If someone is asking you some mathematical calculation, someone is saying calculate chemical shift in delta scale of a peak that occurs at 652 Hz downfield of TMS. The value of TMS is 0 on a spectrum recorded using a 90 MHz spectrometer. What will be your answer? Applying this formula, you can calculate. Similarly, another question coming: at what frequency the chemical shift? The value of chemical shift is here, 4.25 ppm of a compound occur relative to TMS on a spectrum recorded on a 500 MHz. You can do calculation. Another question is coming here: a compound shows a chemical shift around 3.12 ppm on a 300 MHz spectrometer in the proton NMR spectrum. Question number 1: how far downfield is the peak from the TMS in Hertz? You do calculation here. If the spectrum was done with 400 MHz instrument, would a different chemical shift be seen? We have studied this. What would be the difference in Hertz from the chemical shift and TMS at 400 MHz? So this is the calculations. You have to do calculation and let me know the answer. Again, this is the scale, simple chemical shift scale. Different type of protons lie in different region. Those protons which lie at lower value of chemical shift, they are known as upfilled proton, shielded proton, or protons with more electron density. And those protons which lie at higher value of chemical shift in ppm, these protons are considered as more de-shielded protons. They are also known as downfield protons, and they have low electron density because of electronegative atom and some other factor. There are so many factors which contribute for chemical shifts. Class, we have seen TMS as a standard is using. Why the question is coming, why TMS is used as a standard? The structure of TMS is here. Tetramethylsilane, the structure is here. Actually, TMS was first proposed as a reliable internal chemical shift reference in 1958 by Tires. Proton NMR was called proton nuclear spin resonance, or NSR, and the tau scale was used for reporting chemical shifts. TMS have 12 protons which are equivalent and 4 carbon which are also equivalent. You can see the structure: 3 proton from this methyl, 3 from this methyl, 3 from this, 3 from this. This TMS contain 4 methyls and total 12 protons, and this TMS contain 4 carbon. So it gives a signal which is very strong signal in the form of a single strong signal in the spectrum is seen for TMS, which turns out to be outside the range of most other signals, especially from organic compounds. This is one of the most important advantage. This TMS is chemically inert and miscible with a long range of solvent. This is another advantage. It is highly volatile and thus can be removed easily. It doesn't involve in any intermolecular association with compound. TMS shows its signal on 0 ppm for its proton and on the same value 0 ppm for its carbon-13. There are some other references like CdCl3, H3BO3, ammonium nitrate, CCl3F, NaCl, tetramethyl tin. These famous reference standards are used for different nuclei: deuterium, boron, nitrogen, fluorine, chlorine, and tin. However, modern spectrometers can lock on solvent signals, so addition of internal reference standard is not usually required nowadays. Okay class, this is what the basic concepts we have tried to learn, and what we will learn in next class will be about one-dimensional NMR, what is proton MR spectroscopy, and what is carbon-13 MR spectroscopy, what is its application, and how one can use these techniques in the form for structural elucidation. Then we will solve some problems, some combined problems by utilization of IR spectroscopy, electron impact mass spectrometry, UV spectroscopy, and NMR spectroscopic techniques. Till then, best wishes to all of you. Okay, take care. Allah Hafiz.